Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Aura Superstar. I am a pharmacist based out in Ontario, Canada, and I share on my channel all things health, wellness, career, relocation, and fitness. So it's just a great place to be because it's literally everything that you need and more. We have been exploring some women who are doing phenomenal things in their fields, women who are inspiring their people, who are shaking tables and doing great things. Today, I have another great guest on, and she is no other than HAVALEE Johnson. You may or may not know HAVALEE, but she's a phenomenal pharmacist. HAVALEE is CEO and founder of the Immigrant Pharmacist. She is also a speaker and 3-time licensed pharmacist. She's licensed in Jamaica, Alberta, and Ontario, Canada, with 9 years of experience in the field. She specializes in coaching international pharmacy graduates, and she guides them towards a successful career here in Canada by assisting them in relocation, relicensing, and relaunching into lucrative 6-figure profession. Having immigrated from Jamaica to Canada through the COVID pandemic to pursue economic opportunities and fulfill her Canadian dreams, HAVALEE has swiftly regained full autonomy over her pharmacist career within a year of practice. Today, she operates independently as an entrepreneur and works part-time as a travel pharmacist. Her mission is to open doors for those navigating relocation and relicensing challenges, providing a path to prosperity marked by increased impact, income, fulfillment, and enhanced quality of life. She's recognized as the Immigrant Pharmacist and the Travel Pharmacist. HAVALEE empowers pharmacists globally to realize their Canadian dreams. Despite the personal setbacks, she has transformed her challenges into purposeful mission to assist others. HAVALEE is people-centric, multi-passionate, and driven by the belief that her purpose is to empower, inspire, and educate individuals to lead healthier and happier lives. Dedicating significant effort and financial resources to her personal and professional growth, HAVALEE has heavily invested in coaching programs, masterminds, retreats, and business systems. This investment has enabled her to craft a proven pathway to prosperity for internationally educated pharmacists aspiring to relocate, relicense, and relaunch their careers in Canada. I'm so excited to have HAVALEE on today. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What are you doing to empower yourself in this new year as a pharmacist or medical professional, whatever it may be? What are you doing to empower and inspire others around you, but also empower yourself? Hi, HAVALEE. Thank you so much for taking time to be here today. I know so much about you already, but for people who are watching, they may not know. So tell us a bit about yourself. Who is HAVALEE?
Thank you so much for having me, Oren. It's great to see, and it's always great to connect with you. Give me this, you just give me this positive energy and this vibe, and I feel energized whenever I'm talking to you or seeing your face. And so I really appreciate being here in this space with you as a fellow colleague, pharmacist colleague, woman in business, immigrant to pharmacy, to Canada. Sorry.
Yeah.
So my name is HAVALEE. For those of you who've never met me before, you perhaps saw me somewhere on the internet.
Yes.
I go by the moniker Immigrant Pharmacist. That's PHARMACIST. And it basically means the pharmacist who helps, which is what every pharmacist does. But we have our own unique spin on the way we show up and serve people. I am by birth a Jamaican. I successfully emigrated to Canada in February of 2020. So that's just 4 years ago. I'm a pharmacist by trade, but in this space, we're not caught up in titles, right?
Yes.
HAVALEE is also an entrepreneur. I am the CEO and founder of Immigrant Pharmacist. I help international pharmacist graduates successfully relocate to Canada through a partnership I have with an established law firm here in Toronto. I also help them to successfully relicense in our profession and help them to relaunch their amazing 6 figures career. Woohoo!
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here, and so that I can introduce myself to your audience. For anyone joining us, welcome, 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 and thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, like the job title description and everything is so heavy in terms of just the quality and the quantity of work that you bring to this profession. So thank you so much for everything you do. I want to kind of continue or like go into this conversation leading off some of the things that you mentioned. So obviously you're a pharmacist who immigrated to Canada. And obviously I think since 2020, Canada has become a place where everyone's interested in coming to,
Yes.
professionals, non-professionals, students, families, so many different people.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, why did you move to Canada? Why
Why
Canada?
Canada?
What is it? Yeah, what is it? What was it about Canada that made you interested?
That's a very interesting question. And I'll say I am literally the only member from my immediate family that lives in Canada.
Wow.
Everybody else is either in Jamaica or in US or somewhere else. And I was like, somebody has got to plant roots elsewhere. But the main reason for me moving to Canada, and it's in retrospect, examining my life and the series of events that have unfolded, my interest in Canada heightened in 2015. But it was a seed that was planted in my mind in 2012 when I visited Niagara Falls, New York, and I was there for 4 months. And I wanted to cross the border because Canada looked so exciting. I wanted to go across, and I couldn't. And when you've had that experience, it never actually leaves you. And then I forgot about it. I went back to Jamaica, completed pharmacy school, and then I'm an intern. And I said to some interns, I might have read an article, and I said, maybe we should consider moving to Canada. It's a big country, it's underpopulated, and we wouldn't have to go back to school. That part got me. I was like, I could move to a foreign country and not go back to school. In 2012, I was fascinated by Canada, but at that time, I was so adamant that I wasn't leaving Jamaica. I was like, we're going to suffer brain drain, and I need to stay here and help and serve our people. But in the same year, I unfortunately lost my dad because he had some health challenges, and he needed dialysis, and we could not afford to pay for dialysis. This part of the interview, I need to get it together.
Okay.
We're keeping it real, but this usually tears me up because it was in that moment I realized that we needed access to healthcare. And I know this might sound contrary to some people, but Canada has universal healthcare. And I believe if my family lived in a country like Canada, my dad could receive the care that he needed.
Yeah.
And we were constrained financially because in the past, I've been deregistered from school for absenteeism for an entire month. Now imagine having your child and your child not being in school for a month.
Wow.
I know it could be worse, but at the time I felt a little devastated about the fact that I couldn't go to school because I loved school so much. And I was just thinking about the fact that money has always been a bottleneck in our families' lives. And as such, I'm like, how can I find a way out of this situation? How can I create a life for myself and a legacy for my future family? And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to try Canada. You know what they say, the minute you decide for your future, the events, the people, the circumstances, they start unfolding. It was just like serendipity after serendipity after serendipity. I started meeting people, and really my real why for moving to Canada, besides losing my dad, needing access to healthcare, needing to be more financially stable, was while I was practicing as a pharmacist for 5 years, I felt constrained. I felt like I needed a wider scope of practice. I felt like my clinical knowledge wasn't being put to great use. And so I learned about, how pharmacists can practice in Canada. And so it really excited me from a professional standpoint. And that's why I'm like, I'm moving to Canada. So those were some of my whys, amazing healthcare benefits, maternity benefits. Back in Jamaica, maternity benefits is like 8 weeks. And I'm like, that is no time to nurture and care for your family, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those were some of the reasons that was why I wanted to move to Canada. How I moved to Canada? I did some research. Girl, I went into research mode. I put on my investigator hat. I put
Mm.
on my pseudo immigration lawyer representative for HAVALEE hat. And I went into research mode, and based on the way that I consume information, based on the way that my brain works. I'm an
Mhm.
audiovisual learner, but I
Mhm.
love to read and I love to research on my own leisure. I researched and I fully self-sponsored and moved to Canada. Did
Yeah.
all my paperwork, everything. It was very fascinating for me and intriguing, and just watching how the series of events unfolded. So that's how I
Yeah.
ended up moving to Canada under the federal skilled worker pathway
Okay.
via
Yeah.
express entry. So yeah, I
Yeah.
know that was a mouthful, but
That's amazing. I think there's many different ways that I can resonate with your story, because I also lost my father in 2013, and
oh, I'm
I think
sorry
that
to hear.
situation, thank you, that situation, and when things like that happen, it actually pushes us to do things and take steps that
Mhm.
causes us to come out of our comfort zone. So I think um just for anyone who may be experiencing or have experienced something like that, it's always something that will force you to um, take steps for better change, right? So I'm able to just
Exactly.
resonate with that, and can definitely empathize in that with that situation scenario. One thing that you said that um, I was actually going to add to, and I think you already kind of expanded on it, is you said something about wanting to stay in Jamaica to serve your people. And sometimes we have to take steps in our lives that causes us to move out of a place or a position for a season to better
Mhm.
educate ourselves, to grow our financial resources, our physical resources, whatever it may be, because later down the line there are usually opportunities, right, to help our people.
Exactly.
And I think that's so key, like, to just add there, like, you made the right decision in coming to a place like this, because it's not just for you, but even for the generations to come. And one thing
Yes.
I said, and I've shared on my Instagram a lot, is one of the reasons I moved. Now, I moved from England. So England's not a country that has any restrictions. It has
Mhm.
similar things to Canada, maybe some things even better than Canada. But the reason I moved was so that I, and also my children, my generation, and the people coming behind me can have access to more things than I
Yes.
had. They have access to different world views or different
Opportunities.
backgrounds,
Yes.
opportunities. Absolutely, because my parents moved from Nigeria to England to give me a better opportunity, so
Yes.
I can do the same for my
For
kids
your
and for
mhm.
myself and the people coming after me. So that was super important, what you shared, and so vital for
Yeah.
people to hear and know about.
Thank
um
you. And I'll just add to that that since moving to Canada, I have
mhm,
really found my purpose.
mm,
And moving to Canada wasn't for me. It
mm,
wasn't about me. I did not realize that this was an assignment on my life. This is a calling. It's
mm,
for the people whose destinies are assigned to mine. And so I have to keep moving even when I don't feel like getting up, even
yeah,
when I don't feel like showing up.
yeah,
I get my DMs flooded. I get people reaching out to me, and I'm like a beacon of hope for some people. So are you, Ore. So
yeah,
we have to answer to that calling. Initially, I thought
mhm,
it was about me, it was for me. Yes, to an extent, it is for me, but there's a bigger mission
mm,
and a bigger purpose. And
yes,
speaking about serving my people, I'm already serving our people, and
mm,
they're reaching out to us. And
yes,
this is one of the many facets and one of the many things that comes with moving from
mhm.
your own country. The Bible says a prophet is without honor in his own country.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had to do what we had to do. So I just
Yes.
wanted to add that.
Yeah, and speaking about purpose, this is something I'm very passionate about. As a Christian, I think we have to always remember that the purpose is not about us. I always think about this statement I heard when I was a teenager. There are so many people's lives and destinies tied to you saying yes to a call,
Yes.
whether that call is, moving somewhere or taking on something different, or,
Mhm.
maybe it could be just focusing on a specific area, in terms of a
Yes.
population of people, and whatever that is. And even if you don't think of it as just people in the world, those people whose destinies or lives are tied to you saying yes could also be your children, could also be your grandchildren, it could
Exactly.
be relatives, so
That's a great
um,
point.
I think that's really important to remember. So I want to move into obviously you do so many different great things. I want to focus today on one of the very exciting things that you do, and it's
Woohoo!
travel pharmacy. So you are the travel pharmacist, and I don't know if you have noticed, but I've definitely seen it on YouTube. There are so many travel nurse
Yes.
positions on Indeed and LinkedIn and social media. I don't know if you go on TikTok, there are so many travel nurses out there, but you are a travel pharmacist. So how does that work? How did you get into that? And yeah, talk us through that. Is it financially beneficial?
Motivated.
Yes. And
Of
is it like,
course,
is
there's
it
the financial aspect.
ability? What does it look like to be a travel pharmacist?
Okay, so being an entrepreneur has given me leverage in terms
Mhm.
of time and flexibility,
Mm,
and I love pharmacy.
me too.
Like I was gonna say, I could tell that you love pharmacy.
Yeah.
And the reason we entered this profession was to help and serve
Mhm.
people and to
Yeah.
help them to optimize their health.
Yes.
And we are uniquely positioned in our dispensaries. But however, it depends on the practice setting. You may feel like
Mm,
you're not maximizing on your potential. You may feel restricted in terms of being able to practice the way you think is
mm,
in the best interest of the patient when you have overseers who are, I don't know, gatekeepers, people
mm.
who think that you should be in a specific box and it isn't in alignment with your value system, what you signed up for, what you aspire to do, and how you want to help people, you
Yeah.
start to think outside of that box and you
Mhm.
start getting creative. So, working in pharmacy during the pandemic, it's accelerated our careers. I'm sure we had to learn
Mhm.
on the fly. We had to learn so quickly. I felt like I got like 5 years worth of experience in 2 years. And it was going great. I was
Mm.
doing great. I wasn't focused on my pay. I was focused on serving Canadians.
Yes.
And I got to a point of frustration because one, I, came down with long COVID symptoms. So I was starting to have a little bit of brain fog. I started to
Mm,
having breathlessness and feeling
mm,
fatigue and tired. And then I was working in a corporate pharmacy setting that wasn't the most conducive to us performing the clinical services that we signed up to perform.
mhm,
And I got to a point of frustration where I said, okay, I need to pour some love into HAVALEE, and HAVALEE
mm.
needs to be at her best so she can serve her patients
Absolutely.
the best. You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Mm.
So I decided to take a break from pharmacy to nurture myself back to health. I can't be sick serving health. That just does not work.
Yes.
And so I took a break. My break lasted for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why we need to be financially stable,
Mhm,
financially secure, financially
mhm,
empowered, so we can make decisions like these that are in our best interest and also in the best interest of the people we're called to serve. And so I took
mhm,
a break and I spent 5 of those 9 months in the United States with my family,
mm.
getting better and better every day. And then in about January, February of 2023, I said, I'm going to try this travel pharmacist thing. So I did not have a system in place at the time. I didn't know anyone specifically doing that kind of thing.
Mm.
But being an avid reader and a researcher and someone who could put information, package it really cogent and make it easy for other people to consume, I started researching and I came across a new system. I was like, what if I became a travel pharmacist?
Mm.
And the minute we start asking ourselves quality questions, our brain, which is a supercomputer, gets to work. And
Yes.
so I started seeing some amazing opportunities. I said, I don't want to earn less than 100 Canadian dollars per hour. I had a friend who
Mhm.
was trying to convince me to work with their company in the same corporate setting. I said, no, thank you. I said,
Mhm.
no, thank you for 5 months. And then I said, I'm going to do travel pharmacy. And the minute I say I want to make $100 per hour, there comes the opportunity. I
Wow.
was like, sign me up. Reached out to reached out to an employer, and he was like, sure, I'll pay your airline ticket. I'll pay for your accommodation. I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. I was
Mm.
put in a really nice, decent hotel with pool and all these things, gym.
Wow.
And the employer put me up for 10 days and they paid over 1100 Canadian dollars to fly me out from Ontario, because
Mm.
I was in Ontario at the time, to Alberta to work for 9 days it was. No, I worked for 8 days. I worked for 8 days because I had to fly in one day, fly out one day. I worked for
Mm.
8 days. I
Mm.
was like, wow, this is so cool. So I said, what if I try this again? So in May, I found another employer and we negotiate by listening. I reached out to the employer, and this is how you have to learn how to communicate your value in the marketplace.
Yes,
We need
absolutely.
to be assertive. We need to be able to communicate that value, and
Yeah.
also to start building our network by reaching out to people, not cold outreach. This person was providing a service. I could fill the gap. So I reached out, but otherwise, I'm going to encourage the persons listening or watching.
Mhm.
Start building your network, start getting to know people, because who you know is more important than what you know.
Yes. Yes to that. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we don't understand that. And I think this is another reason why it's so important, even in pharmacy schools, to start incorporating that information in the
Yes.
program, the pharmacy program. Because for me, as someone who was very studious and very diligent when it came to studying, my focus was let me study, let me know everything, let me learn all the different
Mm,
things, because I felt like that's what made me stand out as an individual. But
yeah.
actually, after being a pharmacist for 10 years now, I can look back and say, actually, what's helped me more is being, able to network, being able to meet
Yes.
people.
Hmm.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that I network when I need something. I network all the time.
Exactly.
Um, and I say this to people, sometimes you might apply for a job or you apply for an opportunity and you don't get it right away. That doesn't stop you from keeping that friendship and keeping it
Exactly.
local, right? So
Hmm.
I'll reach out once in a while. And even till, up until recently, I shared about when I was looking for an opportunity to do some kind of like, I guess, casual work.
Yes.
And I just reached out to this employer that I found on LinkedIn. And I was just like, just having a general conversation with this individual, and ended up just saying, oh, actually, we do have some opportunities and, stuff like
Look
that.
at that
I didn't end up taking that opportunity, but I still have that, network and that
connection.
keeping that
Yes.
connection open, because you never know. So
You'll never
what you
know.
said is so key, so key.